The forest beneath our judgments, seeing each other ecologically. We are creatures of judgment. We scan faces, tones, and gestures. We often label others as rude, lazy, dramatic, or cold. We do this not because we are cruel, but because we are afraid. Judgment is a defense against chaos, against ambiguity, and against the unbearable truth that we do not fully know each other or even ourselves. Ernest Becker taught us that human beings are meaning makers haunted by death. We build cultures, roles, and stories to shield ourselves from the terror of our own vulnerability. We cling to the illusion of control, and one of the ways we do this is by reducing others to simple explanations. He's just so difficult. Well, she is just crazy. Well, they're not my kind of person. But what if we paused? What if we resisted the reflex to explain and instead chose to wonder? Urie Bronfennbrenner, a developmental psychologist, offered us a map for that wonder. His ecological systems theory reminds us that no one exists in isolation. We are not sealed off selves. We are ecosystems, living, breathing, adapting within layers of context. At the center is the self. But that self is shaped by the microsystem, or the family dinner table, the classroom, the friend group, and the workplace. These are the roots we draw from. If someone seems irritable or withdrawn, perhaps the soil that is around them is dry, and perhaps they are not being fed. Then there is the mesosystem, and this consists of the relationships between those roots, a child's teacher and a parent, or a partner's boss and therapist. These connections, like the mycorrhizal fungi in a forest, carry signals and nutrients between nodes. When those pathways are blocked or toxic, the whole organism suffers. Beyond that lies the exosystem. And this consists of settings we don't directly inhabit, but that still profoundly shape us. This can be a parent's job loss, or a sibling's illness, or it can be a neighborhood without clean water. These are the weather patterns of our lives. They are unseen, but deeply felt. Above it all is the macro system, the culture, the economy, and the myths we inherit. These are the stories we tell about what it means to be a man, a woman, a success, or a failure. These stories are not neutral. They are soaked in power. They often tell us who gets to speak, who gets to rest, and who gets to be believed. And then finally, there is the chronosystem, time itself, the seasons of a life, the long shadow of childhood, the rupture of a pandemic, or the slow erosion of hope. These are the rings in our tree trunks, the scars and growth lines that mark our becoming. So when someone's behavior strikes us as strange, what are we really seeing? A person, of course, but also a history, a culture, a network, a storm, a root system, and a season. We are like trees in a forest. Above ground, we may look separate, but below the surface, we are connected by invisible threads of influence, memory, and meaning. The mycorrhizal network that links trees is not unlike the social and psychological systems that link us. When one tree is sick, others send nutrients. When one is attacked, others receive the warning. The forest is not a collection of individuals. It is a living, breathing whole. And so are we. To live as if we are separate is to live in illusion. To judge without context is to sever the roots of empathy. But to see each other ecologically is to ask, what systems are shaping this person? This is often the beginning of the work of repair. Yes, it is not easy, but it requires us to tolerate complexity, to sit with not knowing, to surrender the comfort of simple stories. It is the only way to truly see each other, and perhaps to save each other. Because in the end, we are not just trying to understand behavior. We are trying to remember that we belong to one another, that your suffering touches mine, that your healing helps mine, that the forest is wiser than the tree. So the next time you feel the urge to judge, pause, take a deep breath, ask, what might this person be carrying? What systems are pressing on them? What season are they in? And then, if you can, offer a little light, a little water, a little space to grow. Because that is what the forest would do.